It's time for more Ultimate Options. Andy Tanner here. Corey is with us. How you doing, Corey?
Doing great.
We are so glad to be with you. It's kind of fun. It's like the three of us, you, me, and Corey. We're hanging out. We're learning about options. And
just sitting here at a barbecue talking about Theta.
Just relaxing. We're going to talk a little Theta. Now, listen. I'm not a militant guy. In fact, I don't like the militant way of doing things. I do like Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off, though. And Delta was a big deal. Delta, was a big deal. So it was important that before we move on, my job as the coach is not all. Here's the difference. This is what's tough is, as an educator and as a business, your job is to give people what they want. I mean, no question. If you're 7-Eleven and people want a pina colada Slurpee, you better come up with that flavor if that's the demand.
That's right.
With a coach, it's kind of tough because you're supposed to make your players' dreams come true. So we have fun. We won a championship with our little sixth graders, and so I gave them what they wanted. However, the process in getting to what they wanted was a much different pathway than they envisioned. So one of the things that exists, Mike Krzyzewski of Duke talks a lot about this, between the coach and the player is trust. And you have to trust that the coach knows what you want, which is to win the championship. But then you have to trust the coach that he knows the best pathway to get there. For example, someone might show up to Duke University and say, I want to win the championship, but I want to do it my way. That's not going to fly. You're going to do it Coach Krzyzewski's way, right? And we're going to listen to Coach Krzyzewski. And if he says, hey, we're going to learn man defense instead of zone to get there, well, I want to play zone. Well, you the coach. So I definitely want to give you what you want. No question. That's an important thing, to give you what you want, which is learn how to trade options. To do that the very best way, though, takes a little patience. Wax on, wax off. So ideally, if you're doing this right, you should have practiced and been patient and gotten some paper trades in with some Delta, and just maybe bought a call and maybe bought a put. And you could have done it on the same stock in a paper trade account, because you're really not trying to make money in that paper trade account. You're simply, we are so obsessed with wanting to make the money from day one, right, Corey? We're just, I want to make the money right now. Look, we're not trying to make money. We're trying to learn so we can make money later. So if you were smart before you move on to this class, that's why I think I'm going to, release these kind of like a time capsule, because I actually made a mistake. When I did the 4 pillars, I had people email me, dude, that was awesome. I did it in one sitting. I mean, they stay up all night long because they want to get through the 4 pillars. That's like 14 hours.
Like a great book. You can't put it down.
It was like 14 hours. I'm like, are you serious? I couldn't do that. Could a teacher teach 14 hours straight? I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, if I can't teach that 14 hours straight, a person isn't learning everything they could learn. Had I had it to do over, I would have said you can have a pillar a week. First pillar, take a week to get through it. Second pillar, take a week to get through it. Because it's important that I coach that way and I teach that way. So if you have not,
dare I say that Delta is wax on, wax off. Theta is paint the fence.
It is.
It's all a process, right?
It is paint the fence. So we should have been wax. And the thing isn't like you just learn how to wax on, wax off. You get it. He had to do it to like 4 different cars. It took him all day.
Right.
Took him all week. He was sore. You have to put in the reps. So the more stocks you did and just watched them for a week, that's it. But you start to look at how the Delta affected. When it went up $1, you watch the value and to be familiar with those Greeks in Delta. So with that long-windedness, let's do Theta. This is my favorite one. How about you? I love this one.
Yeah, I'll tell you why we love Theta. Theta is always working in one direction, and we like to be on the side of probability. We like to be on the side of collecting income and working our tails off to keep that income. If it takes some hedging, we'll get to that. But what our job is to put ourselves in a good situation to be profitable. And Theta is working for you when you're an option seller. So we love that.
It's also times predictable. But before we do that, quick disclaimer, you guys have read this before. You can't be reminded of the risk too much, okay? I'm here to take care of you. Mr. Miyagi knows that there's going to be a fight, and there's going to be that moment in that fight where you got to do that crane move, right? So you don't get kicked in the eye. It involves risk. So you make a promise to me that you learn this stuff on paper first, take care of yourself, because I'm not here. You can really, really hurt yourself doing this without knowing what you're doing. You really can.
And the market is trying to sweep your leg.
Sweep the leg, Johnny. Sweep the leg, Johnny. And we can do the little move. We can fix things, but it is painful. It's better just to knock him out before he can sweep your leg.
I'm pretty sure everyone is going out and looking up Netflix for the Karate Kid.
And they're like, Andy's old. Corey's not that old. I'm old. I watched the Karate Kid. Okay, so so here's your deal. We are educators. We're not advising you to do anything. We're educating you. Let's hop in. So what's the catch? I mean, we saw in the Delta this okay, the stock goes up, I make buku bucks, the stock goes down, I lose crazy. But we saw that it was linear. It was linear on the top side. As this thing goes and goes and goes and goes, it looks just like this, right? It's linear, meaning it's a straight line, linear, right? But it was more parabolic here, where this was linear here. So on the top, we have linear. On the bottom, it's parabolic. And we really like the curve of this because we're limiting our risk. If this stock, we look at this stock over here, when this stock hits $14, we've lost some money here. We've lost $17, $16, $15. So there's 1, 2, 3. There's $3 lost here, and we can go to zero. We can lose all 17 if this thing goes all the way down here to zero, right? Over here at $14, the most we can lose here was 69 cents in that last example in the Delta, right? Because we know this from the 4 pillars. Max risk with a long option, max risk is equivalent to the premium you paid, right? For the option.
That's
right. You paid for your option, right? That's the max risk. Over here, max risk is the price paid for the stock. The price you paid for the stock. So here, if the stock goes bankrupt, you lose 17. That's the price you paid. Here, you didn't pay 17. You paid a premium of 69 cents. Now, as this stock goes up, you're making big money because of the delta that we talked about, right? So you have all the benefits of upside, all the benefits of the upside, and small downside benefit. Very, very small downside. In other words, the benefits on the upside are almost the same as owning stock, but the benefits of the downside are much better than owning stock. So look, if we have one graph that looks like this, and this is A and this is B, why wouldn't you choose this? What's the catch? What's the catch? Well, I'll tell you what the catch is, Corey.
Expiration, time decay.
If this stock goes down,
if it wasn't for the time decay, buying options, like we've said in a previous class, it would be a no-brainer. You would go out and buy options with all of your investments, with all of your capital, because to have that type of reward with limited risk sounds fantastic. But there is a catch. There is an element that is a problem, and that's that expiration date. That's what creates time decay. So if you don't get enough of a move in the specific amount of time, then you can lose money being an option buyer.
Let's say I buy 100 shares of stock. 100 shares of stock. And let's say I buy one call contract, which represents 100 shares of stock. Okay, let's say on expiration date, instead of this thing going up, here I would make $1 if it went up. But let's say it goes down here. Now I'm at -2. Okay. Well, if it goes down here, let's find an expiration date that's similar. Okay, on expiration date. There's no time value left in this. Anything, if we have a strike at 17, at expiration, anything below that line is a total loss, 100% loss. That 69 cents is now gone at expiration. It's gone. The only way to have any money in this thing is if it's above. Then it will look just like this line at that point. So that's kind of a rough deal, right, Corey? That's kind of a rough deal.
That's right.
Now over
you
here,
have to be right in the right amount of time. You can kind of think of it in the stock example. You can hold that stock forever, in essence. You could pass it on to kids and grandkids.
But
with an option, you can't do that. Yeah.
If it goes down, I still got 100 shares. My balance sheet. Okay, here's my income statement: income, expense, asset, and liability. My balance sheet still has 100 shares of stock in it right here. Okay, it still has it. Now over here, my balance sheet has one call in it. Right, one call in it. Well, at expiration, I'll still have 100 shares. At expiration, this is expired, and I have nothing. So even though I've lost $2 here, I still have the 100 shares, and maybe someday it comes back up. Look, once it's expired, this thing's done. And if it comes back up, it doesn't matter. My option's expired. That's the problem with these doggone things, is they expire. It's like your car insurance. You go for 6 months, you don't even get in a wreck. Doesn't matter. You're expired. You got to buy more. You got to buy more insurance. So that's the catch with these cockeyed things, right? And how does it affect premium? Well, think of it this way. Let's say that you had let's go out of theater mode. Well, you know what? We can stay in theater mode. We'll just go whiteboard mode. How about that? So let's say that you had a rental house like this. Okay? Let's say you had a rental house like this. And let's say that the rent was $1,000. And let's say that you had a lease that was unrealistic, that would let you sublease your house or transfer to a different renter. Let's just go in the neighborhood of make-believe, also known as the state of Colorado, with plenty of good weed. Oh, I never touch the stuff. I joke about it, but I never touch the stuff. But let's say you live in the land of make-believe. You've been smoking Colorado-grade marijuana. And let's say there's a rental contract that allows you to transfer it to your friends. So in other words, I'm in there. I decide I don't want to be in there. I can just have Corey live in there now, right? I can just move it right over. Almost like wrapping a mortgage, right? So let's say you've got 30 days and 20 days and 10 days and expiration until that's done. You paid $1,000 in rent. So let's say that with 30 days left, on the first of the month, I have 30 days left, and I just paid $1,000. And I live in this house. Let's make this a black line. And I live in this house for 10 days, and I decide I want to move out. And Corey says he wants to move in. I said, well, Corey, I've paid for 30 days of rent. I've only lived here 10 days. I paid for 30. I've only lived here 10. So I'm going to expect you to pay me the value of my contract. In other words, my value of my rental contract probably isn't worth $1,000. Let's see what it might be worth. If we go like this and we go like this, we say, you know what? It's probably worth $666. Wait a minute. That's the devil's number. We can't. Okay, and 66 cents. Now we're better. We'll round it up. 67 cents. Now we don't want to have the devil number in anything.
Not too many sixes.
I don't need that voodoo in my life. I'll tell you that. I got enough problems messing with 666. But that's probably what's there. So what we're looking at here is if we drew this in blue. Whoop, look at that. if we drew this in blue, this represents the amount of time decay that has occurred in this rental contract. It's not worth $1,000 anymore because the original contract had 30 days in it. Now the contract only has 20 days left in it. It's just not going to be worth $1,000 anymore. It's going to be worth $666.67.
Right. One third of the time has decayed, so the contract is now worth 2/3 as much as it originally was.
Yeah. So, right here I'm at $1,000. Right here I'm at $666.67. Maybe I live in it for 20, and maybe Corey lives in it. Maybe Corey lives in it for 10 days. Okay. So Corey moves in and Corey lives in it for 10 days. Okay. And then he goes to you. He says, hey, I'm moving out, but this is a nice place. You want to live here for 10 days? A little Airbnb. You want to vacation this place for 10 days? And you say, sure, I would. Well, he's not going to charge you $666.67. He's probably going to charge you $333.67. Because why? It's not worth $600 anymore. There's only 10 days left. So this would represent the amount of time decay that occurred while Corey was in the house before he sold that contract to you. Okay, so now you're in there and you're going to have to leave in 10 days. Why? Well, that's all you paid for. You paid for $300 worth. Okay, you were in there for 10 days, and now that house is vacant again, and we start a new contract. Maybe I move back in and we do the same thing again. But the point is these were points where this is where the contract was originated. Origin. How do you spell origin?
I-N, I believe.
Did I catch you? See, Corey, I've got you using calculators and spell check.
Or is that E-N?
I don't know.
See, originated, I think, is I-N.
This is the start. This is the Genesis. Genesis. Yeah. I can't spell Genesis either. Genesis. This is where it was born.
Hey, I was right. I think it is Origin. There we go.
O-R-I. This is where it was born, and this is where it died.
Thank you.
Okay.
Much easier to spell.
This is where it was born. It was where it died. And in between, it was traded. And here it was traded. And originally it was traded at 1,000. And then it was traded again, but the value wasn't as good. The next time that it was traded, it was at 666.67. And the next time it was traded was 333.67, and then it died. And it was the end of the contract. So we have something called an options exchange. And we're not smoking marijuana. Exchange. We're not. It's in Chicago. It's not in Colorado. Sorry, Colorado people, but the Chicago Board of Options Exchange is in Chicago, and do they smoke marijuana there yet? I don't know if they do or not. Maybe they've passed a law and they're smoking marijuana too, but to my knowledge, they're not.
They might be, yeah. There's quite a few states that do now, so I'm not sure.
They're probably smoking it whether it's legal or not. I have friends that indulge. So anyway, I never indulge. I have friends that indulge. So I really
only
never
for
have.
medical reasons.
I would be the biggest
medical reasons
nerd.
Only.
If I tried it, I'd be the biggest. I've never even smoked a cigarette before. I'd be coughing and like, oh, I'd be this guy that this doesn't really affect me, but geez, I'm hungry. Okay, so anyway, geez, I'm hungry. We guarantee simplicity. We do not guarantee the humor or quality thereof. So we have an option exchange where these guys, we can trade these options all the time. It's not like rent. It is transferable. We can change these. And I'm only going to get and it's a liquid market, so there's always buyers and sellers. But if I buy this for 1,000 and 10 days go by, I'm probably not going to get $1,000 for it unless Cindy Crawford moved in next door then it might change. That'd be a value in the, of course, now the value of the price of the house goes up. She moves in next door. There's second story window here. We can see her sunning by the pool. I'm terrible. I like Cindy Crawford. I think me and Cindy are the same age. So she still looks good to me anyway. Isn't that sad that everything I teach here is from like 1980s, right? It's like Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So, if the value of the house goes up, well, that would be what? That'd be a change in delta. That would change the what? The rent price. But all things bearing the same, if there was no change in delta, if there was no change in the house, then the time is going to decay. And so when we go to trade that again on the options exchange, if the value of the stock has not changed, if the value of the stock is the same, if it hasn't gone up or down, because we talked in the last lesson how the stock going up or down can affect it. Well, if the stock stays the same, here's the stock price, and it's just going the same like this, just going the same, then the only thing that's going to change in that option so far is not the delta, but I'll tell you what, I guarantee you that the time is going to decay. See, I can't predict the price of the stock, but I can guarantee you that this 10 days is going to go by. Let's do prediction. Let's see if you can do one, Corey. I'm perfect when I predict this. I've never missed one. Guess what? Monday will turn into Tuesday. In fact, nice. I can day trade. 12 o'clock will turn into 1 o'clock if I'm a day trader. If I'm a super day trader, 12 o'clock will turn into 12:01 if I'm a psycho day trader. I'm
going to hit you with a long term.
Hit me with
February is going to turn into March.
That's pretty long term. February's turn. How about this? 2020 will turn into 2021.
There you go.
How about that? Does that make sense? Right? 2024 will turn into 2025. You like that? 2030 will turn into 2031. You like that? We're right every time. So this time is going to go by. It's going to change. And the time value, maybe not the total option value, but the time value of this sucker will likely, it's going to go, it's going to decay. This is a sure thing.
Time value is always heading to zero. However, like we talked about, you could have intrinsic gains in the option, that delta, right? So if an option zooms further...
Not only could you, you're hoping so if you're long.
If you're long the option. So sometimes people think, well, does that mean that all options lose value? And the answer is no. An option can go up in value during its life. In other words, they create the options, they start trading, this option contract opens worth $3, let's say. That stock goes on a tear for the next month and it's just going higher and higher. Well, that option's going to gain value. However, the time component of it, the time element, time value, is always going to end up at zero. But maybe that option ends up $10 in the money. Okay, it'd still be worth 10 because it has 10 intrinsic value, but it would only be worth 10. It won't have any remaining time value left in it. So that's exactly right.
It is literally, isn't it funny how people are using the word literally when they mean figuratively now? Have you noticed that? Like people say, dude, I got this news and my head literally exploded. Right?
Yeah.
Or, when I asked her out for a date when she said yes, I literally passed out. No, literally doesn't.
Actually.
But in this case, it is literal, right? It is
That's
literally
right.
a race against time in this case. It is literally a race against time because really what's happening is you have time value in an option, and if you don't understand this, guess what you need to do? Go do your review section or do your 4 pillars. And you have intrinsic value. If you do not understand time value and intrinsic value, we need to take 1 step back to take 2 steps forward. Go back to your 4 pillars. If you don't know how to spell there you go. If you don't know how to spell intrinsic value, you're okay. But you need to know what it is. You don't know how to spell it, but you need to know what it is. Value My dyslexia is just hilarious. I have dyslexia in my hands. Who has dyslexic hands in writing and typing? Andy Tanner does.
Yeah.
So really, the time value is going this way. And you're hoping the intrinsic value goes this way before what?
Before expiration.
If you're long.
Yep.
Before expiration, if you're long.
And that intrinsic value, it can move in three directions, right? It could retain the same, it could drop. It can move in three directions because an in the money option can move to an out of the money, or an at the money can become an in the money, or an in the money. There's all those scenarios where intrinsic, the equity of the option, how far it's in the money, could be gaining or losing. And that's part of the option value. But the other part of the option value is what we call time value. And that's always going down. That's always a decaying element.
So why don't we just get to hop right into the calls and the puts? Why is the mean Mr. Miyagi coach Corey and coach Andy making you learn this first? Well, think about this. Think of this as one baseball right here. This is one baseball. And think of this as another baseball. Well, when you talk about stock, you're only talking about price. That's like throwing one baseball up in the air, right? Throwing one baseball up in the air. But when you trade an option, we have to keep both these baseballs in the air. So you're starting to juggle. And when I learned how to juggle, did you know I know how to juggle, Corey? I can do it.
Hey, I know how to juggle too.
Yeah, how many can you juggle?
I'm not that good. 3.
Oh, see, now you're backing off. No, I'm kidding. I can juggle 3 as well. But before I could juggle 3, I don't know how you learned to juggle. First, I learned how to throw one baseball up in the air. So maybe you go try this as an exercise. Go take one baseball, throw it up in the air and catch it, throw it up in the air and catch it. Some of you are going to be really good at it. Some of you are really going to stink, okay? I'm just telling you right now, some people can't catch a baseball. Throw it 5 feet up in the air and catch it with one hand. Get 10 in a row without dropping it. Now you know you got that one down. After you can throw that up 10 times in a row and catch it, now you add 2. You put 2 balls in one hand, you throw one up, and then while that's in the air, you throw the other one up, and you work with 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, and you juggle 2 balls with one hand. And that's where we're at right now. We got to juggle these 2 balls at the same time. So we're thinking about how the theta is going to kill the price of this option, and we're thinking about how the delta hopefully can improve the price of this option if we're long the option. And we have to keep both of those things in mind. Well, when would be a good time to learn about this? Before you started trading options or after you started trading options? People get so doggone greedy to go out and make money and tackle the world. I can't tell you how many people that I have taught in an options class that have these stories of losing all their money, and then they go get and take the class. And I'm like, why didn't you take this class? They come up all the time. Boy, I wish I'd have learned this 10 years ago before I lost everything. I go, how much was the class? They go, oh, $10,000. I go, how much you lose in your options? $50,000. I'm like, okay, well, lesson learned. So, so that's a big deal, right? Learning to juggle these 2 balls of time and intrinsic value are very, very important. One of it's theta, one of them's delta. Delta will impact the intrinsic value, and intrinsic value and time value put together equals what? Option premium.
Total option premium.
So since we know that this will go to 0 someday, 100% predicted for sure, this will go to 0 for sure. All options will have 0 time value at expiration. Just like our rent example, they'll have 0 value at expiration. They all will. Okay. This one might go up, might go down, might go sideways. This is why we have technical analysis and exit strategies and hedges, right? This is why we have the other 2 pillars. We have all 4 pillars actually to try to give ourselves the best chance in getting the intrinsic value up before we lose all of the time value. It's literally a race against time. It's not a figurative one. It's literally a race against time. This is going to go from 1,000 to 66 to 33, and it's going to go to 0 because a rent contract is 100% time. It is 100% time. There's nothing about ownership. You have no rights to buy anything in a rental contract, unlike an option. So that's pretty good stuff. Let's move that off.
Yep.
And let's go theater mode again. Or maybe not go theater mode. I don't know. I just tried to go theater mode. There we go. Is it going to let me? So yeah, that's time. Now the difference between an option and a stock is we saw that our an option stock, we saw that our rent rather was linear. But you can see in a time decay graph on an option that maybe we have like 3 months, 2 months, 1 month expiration, right? 3 months, 2 months, 1 month expiration is you can see something here. So let's just take a blue and go like that. Okay, that is the amount of time decay that is lost from the start. Like here's start, here's Genesis, origin. This is when it's born. Try and make it as straight as I here. That wasn't perfect, but it was close. Okay, and then we come out here, and let's make this the blue. So this is the amount of time value that we lose from here to here. So I'm going to mark that with a blue down. That's how much time we lost there, whatever the price of the option was. Now let's do a greener right here. Let's go to this and go like that. It's pretty much the same, a little bit more though, right, Corey?
Yeah, a little bit of an increase.
Just a little more.
So you notice that the amount of time decay is picking up the pace a little bit.
A little bigger on that one.
Yeah, you start to think about, okay, options, look at the decaying effect. Look at where the decay is most. And here's that last month of its life.
That's a big one, isn't it? That's the biggest one.
That is a big drop.
So,
and we always kind of highlight that 30 days in that area, in that range, is where there's a lot of time decay. So when you think about options, someone might say, well, if I were comparing two options, a 1 month option and a 3 month option,
yeah,
you might think that the 3 month option would just be 3 times the amount of money that the 1 month option is, but that's not right. What ends up happening is the 1 month versus the 3 month option might only be twice as much money, let's say, because that's how decay works. The 1 month option is a higher price now, but it's about to decay at a more rapid pace. And so what I mean by that is 3 months the amount of time won't cost 3 times the amount of money. It might only cost twice the amount of money that a 1 month option has.
Yep.
And you can get out of it more quickly with less time decay. This is where we like to be. If we're going to be an option buyer, we like to buy out there in time. You know, if I buy the 3 month option and I sell it back to the market with 2 months left, I only experience that little bit of blue decay. That's not too bad. I was able to own the option. I had smaller decay in the option. I was able to hopefully profit from the delta move and so forth. But if I buy that 1 month option, even if I get the delta right, even if I get the direction right, it's very easy to still be wrong and still lose money. Because if I have a small delta gain, but a big theta loss, the net effect could still be a loss, even though I got the direction right. So we really prefer to be option sellers in this 6 week on-in time frame. That way we get time decay helping us with the shorter term options. And as an option buyer, we want to buy out there in time so that time decay does not hurt us as much. We know it's always hurting the value of the option. So if I'm going to be a buyer, I want it to have less of a pain, right? Less decay.
So this is a good thing to know before we start messing with puts and calls. Now watch this. If I buy this one, it's cheaper than if I buy this one here. Now it's not that much cheaper. So the reason I'm making you guys wax on, wax off first here is if people, if you go to the store, you buy stuff that's cheap. I'm always looking for a deal. My dad was like the king of this, dude. I'm telling you, my mom and dad, especially my dad, if he got a good deal on something, it's like he was smarter than everybody else in the world. Look at this deal I got. Very excited, right? Get the cheapest one. But you know what? That's not smart. The guy who sold it to you was the guy that was smart. And so when people would lose money in option, I go, well, are you selling them? So that's what we learned so far about being cheap on Delta and Theta. Delta, we found that the cheaper ones had more risk, right? Based on Delta.
Yep.
If you don't understand that, that means you probably didn't do the assignment to go practice for a week, right? And it's not sunk in yet. And you're fine. See, this is why I'm going to stretch these out. Because part of your ability to understand this, there's your part and there's my part of making it simple. My part is to explain it as simply as possible, but your part is to digest. Think of this as food. I'm obsessed with people understanding things. That's really my mission in life is I hated school so much because I didn't understand anything. Well, the fact of the matter is it took me longer to digest than maybe other people. And the thing that is, if I can feed you faster than you can digest, I can guarantee that. I can feed you faster than you can digest. And that's why you can kill a goldfish, right? That's why you can kill a dog some cases, because you can feed them so fast they can't digest it and they explode and they die as a student. I don't want anyone to die. Stay alive. So that's what I'm saying. If I start making references to this ball of time decay, now it's a basketball. Sorry, that's a habit. If I start talking about this one, then all of a sudden I say, oh, remember Delta? Remember Delta? And I talk about this ball. And now you have to juggle them both at the same time. Well, I'll tell you, if you're not good at holding on to this one, we're not ready to add this one yet. That's why dripping this stuff and getting Delta solid is important. So think about this. Delta, as we went further and further out of the money, they got cheaper, right? They got cheaper. The further and further out of the money they got cheaper. But remember, they got more risky. If you don't remember why, well, you didn't do your homework. You didn't digest that lesson from last time, right? So you got to go back, do it as I said to do it. I've taught so many times, I know how this works. Okay, now, so we've learned this, that a low delta is cheap. A low delta will give you a cheap option, but it has what? More risk. Okay. Now we're also learning this. Short-term options are cheap. Guess what?
Yeah, they cost less than longer term options, of course.
Guess what? There's more risk. Now, this is hard to say when I say there's more risk, because there's more risk in terms of percentage loss. There's less risk in terms of money put in. Because what? Max risk equals premium paid. So we get excited if I only have a 2-cent option. I only pay 2 cents for it. Well, in that case, it's what? It's not a lot of money to risk. Okay? But over here, it is a lot to risk by percent gain or loss. Okay? And probability. Okay? You have a low probability of getting of making it. You have a lower probability of making it, and the actual money in your wallet is going to be very low. So those are two very, very important lessons. And if you put these two together, Corey, and people go out of the money to get low delta, and they go short term, low delta, they're going to lose. So the way to lose money in options, if you want to lose some money in options, this is what you do. Buy short term if you want to lose, buy short term. I'm doing this wrong. If you buy short term, I did it again, short term, out of the money calls or puts or whatever, out of the money, we'll just call it options, out of the money options, you are a dummy.
Yeah, you're basically getting both of the effects of things that we don't like. You know, they are trading for pure time value. They're out of the money, which means their probability of finishing in the money is lower. They are short term, so that means they decay at a more rapid pace. I mean, it's really the negatives that we've been talking about. However, there is a silver lining. For every buyer of those options, we could be a seller of those options. So remember, always in the options market, you can take either side of the trade.
Yep.
When we get into option selling strategies, the good news is we can sell short-term out of the money options. We can do things to turn those probabilities and those opportunities in our favor.
So if I were to sit and see, it's funny, Corey, because I had a friend of mine call me last week. He says, Andy, you trade options, right? I go, yeah. He goes, hey, could I come over to your house for an hour on Saturday and have you show me how to do it?
And you said, yeah, if you've got an hour for the next 20 years, once a week or something.
You know, what I really should have done.
Maybe not that long, but.
What I really should have done with them is I should have done this. I should have taken these baseballs right here. I should have said, this is a baseball, catch it. And he said, okay. And I said, now here's a baseball, catch it. And he said, okay, now here's one, catch it. And I says, okay, now juggle. He said, well, I can't juggle. I go, why not? I just showed you how to do it. Watch, I'll show you. And then I would juggle and I say, okay, now do this. Go ahead, do this. And the problem is tree rings come once a year. It takes time to digest how to juggle this one. And then it takes time to digest how to add that one. It takes to digest how to add that one. And if people get frustrated in an intermediate class, it's probably because they're going too fast. Because when I start referring to time and price at the same time, and the risk involved in each and how that works, all of a sudden it becomes more complex, right? Because now I have to think about how the time is affecting and which one is more risky and how my percent goes and how this is more risky. And it gets, so again, the pace of this learning is critical. And, you know, I really care about people learning this. I really do. Why? Because this is your livelihood. This is your family. This is, you know, getting this right is huge. So if you didn't remember time value, if you don't understand the concept of time value and intrinsic value and time decay, back it up, back it up, back it up. This is a real option graph with actually a real look at option premium. And you'll notice it's interesting that we can buy these at various levels. So we could buy a 6-month option. Let's say it's a call option. It would have cost us $11.70 for, you know, this stock option, whatever it is. The 5-month option is only going for $10.60. You know, the 1-month option is only $3.44. Well, this one's what? Cheap, right? So people like this one, cheap. Well, look at the difference here. The time decay and loss, the guaranteed loss of value in the time portion of this option is massive. Okay, the loss of the time portion is massive. Okay, if I come out here just 3 months or more, okay, let's go from 4 to 3. Okay, now watch this. You got your calculator out, Corey? Do you have your calculator out?
Yep. I'll get it ready.
So 934 minus 785 is how much?
149.
So I would lose $1.49 of value from there to there. From 934 to 785, I lose $1.49 of value. Okay, look at this. It's the same amount of time, right? It's 1 month. 1 month. I'm losing $3.44 of time value on this sucker right here. This is a perfect at the money option with no intrinsic value. Okay, this is an at the money option with no intrinsic value. So I'm losing over twice as much, right? Over 100% more money simply by the process of time, and trying to save a little bit of cash here. You'll notice that here I lose even less. I'm only losing $1.10. Okay, I'm losing the $1.10, but I'm having to fork out 11. So again, this is kind of a nice Goldilocks. This decays too much. This doesn't decay too bad. This is just right. So we like to buy options if it's a single option, probably this way. Now, if you want to do a calendar spread, which we'll get into later, maybe 6 months, 8 months, 9 months might make sense. But we're not talking about that right now. We're just talking about time value. Anything you want to say on
that? Notice in this example, so you can think of it from the standpoint of strategy, right? I might have a good game plan where I'm going to buy this option, but my plan is I'm going to sell it back to the market in a month anyway, right? So I'm going to hold it for a certain period of time or expecting a certain price move, and that's my game plan. Well, if I'm going to hold it for this specific amount of time, I could hold an option and just let it erode all the way to expiration, but I've got all that time decay. Yeah. So it's a much better strategy to say, well, I'm going to hold it for a month. Let me not buy the one that's going to decay rapidly. I'll buy the 4-month option, sell it back to the market with 3 months. I'm going to have a lot less decay, and I still was able to leverage that stock, own the option for a specific amount of time for the catalyst that I wanted, and I don't have that negative working against me as dramatically. See, there's always going to be decay, but not as big.
If we go back to our rent example, and instead of drawing a rent one, we draw a option one. See this right here? We draw an option one that's curved like this. Well, look at what Corey's saying. He says, now my time decay only looks like this. And even though I sent a month, I get to sell that now for $950 maybe, or something like that. See, the amount of time decay was less in this case. It wasn't linear, which is why, and then the next guy, is at this point, but the last guy gets killed. See that? The last guy gets killed. And so, while this was really nice in our real estate, in the option, because it is this more negative square root of x here, this negative parabolic type of thing, then that's where we get it, right, Corey?
That's exactly
and
right.
I thought about doing this, about showing you the math and all this type of crap, and I will just say this: I'm not going to go do it on Google. There's things, but for some of you wonks, okay, this is just, look, if you're a dude like me, just take it in and think about the baseball analogy for a minute, okay? If you're just a dude like me, just think about juggling baseballs. That's easier. But if you're like this engineer brainiac stud, you'll remember that, f of t equals t. That graph looks like this. F of t equals t squared. That graph looks like this. If you go f of t equals the square root of t, then that graph looks like this. And if you go f of t equals, well, heck, now I'm all screwing this up. F of t equals the negative square root of t, then, we got these axes going like this. Now it goes on the other side and it goes like this. Because time is expanding, right? We're going day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, right? Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But here it's going day 5, day 4, day 3, day 2, day 1. It's negative. So in the Black-Scholes model, if you want to get wonky on it, you'll find that, it has all this stuff and, A and Z, but you'll find that the time component looks something like that. which is why we have this. So that's for all the engineers and the math and the brainiac. But if you're a normal guy like me, if you're just a normal guy like me, just a normal guy that doesn't care about all that math crap, I just look at the hourglass and say, look, the thing's running out.
That's right.
It's running out. Theta just tells us how much money it will lose. I have another one of these here that says a little differently. I don't do that to confuse you. It's just to reiterate it and put it in a different way. So how do we mention? So now that we understand time decay a little bit better, how is it that we measure or guesstimate the sensitivity to time decay? Well, we use theta to do that. It just helps us predict. So while delta told us, we talked about the orange and the tree, right? The orange and the tree. Well, the tree tells us a lot about what the orange is going to be like, okay? But once I squeeze that orange juice out, there's probably an expiration date on the carton. The tree might be still alive. In fact, my unpeeled orange might still be alive. But once I peel that orange juice has a separate rate of decay. Think about this. Put an orange on your table and then take its buddy, another orange, squeeze it into orange juice and set that orange juice on your counter right next to the orange for 4 days and see if you really want to drink that orange juice sitting on the counter. Is that a good thought, Corey?
That's a good analogy. Yeah, you're basically, it's a perfect analogy for an expiration date. When you have something like options that have an expiration date, the closer you get to that expiration date, the more urgent it is to basically sell it, whether it be a milk or an orange juice or anything. It has an expiration date. There's a reason that they mark it down at the supermarket and so forth.
It's losing value. It's losing value. We'll talk about that. So let's say first, if we have theta, this is going to estimate how much it's going to lose in 1 day's time. So delta told us how much the option would change with a $1 price increase or decrease. This is always going to be a decrease, always, because time can only move one direction. So while stocks could go up or stocks go down, as we, the Nostradamus that Corey is, he said, well, Monday's going to turn into Tuesday. Nice job, Corey Nostradamus Halliday. Is that what you have on your license plate number? Corey Nostradamus?
That's actually my middle name.
Is Nostradamus. No. Corey Nostradamus said Monday turns into Tuesday. So we know this. We know it's always going to be. So watch this. Let's say that on day one, okay, that we have here, okay, on day one, since we had the option, or let's do it in reverse. Let's say it's day 100, okay? And so there's 100 days left in this option. So we'll say, let's change it and make it even simpler. Okay, right here, there are 100 days till expiration. Okay, and we can even change this, okay, and we just say days till expiration. That would be a better way really to do this chart. You know what? Let's do that. Don't you think?
Yeah.
Let's just change it right here, okay? Days till expiration. See, I don't know how to spell. Do you see why it took me forever to build on?
Yeah.
Expiration. I like that better.
Do till as TIL.
Thank you. We're not tilling the soil. That's why we have you.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's why it does this automatically. How about this?
You could do until.
There's my slang from growing up in the Mountain West. In the Mountain West, we put things in the creek and put things in the drawer in the Mountain West.
Fellers.
I live in the 7th Ward. All right, here we go. So let's look at this. Let's say we have 100 days till expiration. Oh, that's much, much better. Fabulous. I'm not above getting better on the fly. And let's say the option premium is, I don't know, maybe really doesn't matter. We'll just say $5. Fair enough. 100 days till expiration.
Perfect.
$5. It's a cheap stock. Cheap stock, got a $5 premium. Well, at day 99, my guesstimate is going to be that this is now going to be $4.93. And I have to think that this is going to increase over time. This theta is going to increase. It will increase as we get closer to expiration, won't it?
Yep.
Because this is just telling me what it is for what? The first day. So if we look at our graph out here like this, and we say, okay, here's day 100, and here's day 99, and here's the time value. Let's just say time value out here. That from day 100 to day 99, we're going to lose 7 cents. Now here, from day 1 to day 0, that number is going to be a lot bigger. But for at the outset, it's going to tell you how much you're going to be making. And that's a nice feeling, and I'll tell you why. The reason that's nice is I can have stock X, Y, or watch this. This is really cool. I can have stock X, Y, Z, and I can have stock ABC, and I could have stock Acme, and I could have Corey Halliday Incorporated, and I could have Andy Tanner, Basketball Knowledge Hopeful Training Academy, or whatever it is. And maybe this
that one trades on the American exchange.
Yes, that's probably on the Toronto exchange if you're going to, no, I'll tell you, that'd be on the Vancouver exchange, because that would be, this would be highly non-regulated, yeah. And if I had my theta here, watch this. If I have my theta here and I says, okay, I'm getting 10 cents on this one, I'm getting 20 cents on this one, I'm getting 7 cents on this one, I'm getting, maybe, I don't know, 50 cents on this one, and I'm getting 20 cents on this one. Well, 10, 20 is 30 cents, 40, 50 cents, $1. That means I'm getting what? $1.07 that day, and you'd have a total right here of $1.07 a day, which is be about $370 a year, all right, on average. So I like to know what my theta is, because this is my rent check, baby. This is my what? This is my cash flow.
Yep. And that's if you're the option seller. You have that theta working for you.
That's right.
It could be that you have a combination of trades.
Right.
So some of those thetas, let's just switch it up one number. Say that you are long XYZ or ABC. There you go. So you're long ABC, but you're short the other ones or something like that. Then you'd actually lose the theta from one, but you'd make it on the others. Yep. So if we're losing the 20 cents on ABC, but we had the other 87 or the other
whatever.
So 87 cents total is what it nets out to. Yep.
So this now tells me my total amount of money I make if the market didn't even move. It tells me the money I make or lose if the market didn't move. If I was long all these options, then I'd be losing this much money instead of making.
You'd be losing $1.07 per day.
So really, the total theta tells me is, in all my positions combined, am I making money on the passage of time, or am I losing money on the passage of time? Do you see that? Am I making money on the passage of time or losing money on the passage of time? Well, if you have a rental house, okay, this is important. If you have a rental house, that is really a bad house. I don't know. I'm doing my best. Okay. If you have a rental house, you have income, you have expenses, you have, asset, and you have liabilities. Okay. Well, the asset can go up and down in value based on its price. So that means your net worth would be going up and down in value at the price. But the rent that you're bringing in would be consistent. Follow? The rent would be consistent. So if you looked at your account, okay, your bank account, okay, your bank account, if you're depositing the same money in January, February, March, April, May, June, July, your bank account would go up $500 a month. You'd have $6,000 if you got $500 in rent every month, right? You're depositing $500 a month. It'd be $6,000 in income. Well, shoot, the graph of the house might have gone like this. The value of the home might have gone all over the place. And this is what a 401k looks like. In stock, okay, this is why we titled the name of my book Stock Market Cash Flow. And Theta is the key to getting this. So in stock, we have income and expenses, asset, liability, okay? And you might have, a bunch of stock in your 401k, right? You have a 401k, and it's just going up and down all the time. And so your net worth, in a 401k, your net worth is going up and down, just like this is going up, right? This goes
That's
up
right.
and down. This goes up and down. This goes up and down. But what's missing here? What's missing? You're not making any money on the passage of time. See, the rent is, $1,000 per what? Per month. You're getting paid off the passage of time. The house can go up and down in value, up, down, good days, bad days. If I look at Zillow, if I were to bring up a Zillow on one of my houses, you'd see, way back when it had downs and ups where I made and lost money if I were a house flipper. But if you look at the rent I get on that house, it doesn't change.
It's steady.
And I get and cash flow.
You get that cash flow. And so what you showed in the prior example, we can use on this one. So in your income box, you have rent of $500. Well,
Right.
we could turn that into a daily Theta number, essentially. We could say, okay, if you're collecting $500 of rent, we could divide that by 30 days and say,
true.
You're making $16.66 per day, right?
Yep. $16.60 would be my what?
That's your Theta. That's how much you're making per day renting that out at $500 per month. Dividing the rent number.
If we went $500 per month, that would equate to $16 per what? Day.
Per day.
And it's linear because it wouldn't change. It's linear.
That's right. That's what your brokerage is showing you when they tally up the Theta numbers. They're saying, well, you're losing 10 cents on this one, but you're making 20 cents on this one, and you're making 30 cents per day on this one, and you're making 5 cents per day. And so it tallies them up so that you can now see, okay, it's like having multiple rental properties. I'm making $16 on this one. I'm making $12 on this one. And you're just tallying them up to see how much you make on the passage of time. As one day moves to the next day, how much am I profiting from the time decay? It's really cool.
Yeah. If you were paying a payment of $500 a month and you were getting rent, your cash flow would be $500 a month. Your Theta would be, that works out to $16.60 a day. So that's really, now watch this. This is positive. This would make $16.67 a day, right? That means time would be working for you if you had a renter in there, right? The time would be working for you if you had a renter in there. Now let's say the renter leaves and you're still left with this. Now, instead of making $500 a month, you'd lose $16.67 a day. So in this case, with no renter, time would be working against you. So that's what we really want to do with Theta. Am I having time work for me every day, or am I having time work against me every day? Do I have a renter or not? Well, in real estate, we collect rent for income. For income in stock markets, we collect dividends and we collect premium. We collect dividends and we look premium in pay per asset, if that makes sense. So we're doing the same thing. So Theta is simply how sensitive this stuff is in terms of the time decay. Right here we decided a better way to do that was be days till expiration. right? Expiration. And if we go from 100 days to 99 days, and the option premium was, let's just say, $1, well, from day 100, now day 99, it's going to be 93 cents. 93 cents, right? It's going to go to 93 cents. And that's just telling me the rate of cost. So if I am an option seller, I'm pretty happy if this is happening, because I sold it for $1.06, and if I want to buy it back now, it's only going to cost me 93, and I get 7 cents.
That's right. And sometimes it's valuable to remind you of the values of those. So the easy way, when we talk about 7 cents and 93 cents, you can drop the decimal point to figure out how much money it is per contract.
There's 100 shares per contract.
There's 100 shares per contract. So when we talk about a 7-cent theta, that means $7 per day per contract. So if we sold that option, collected a $100 credit or a $1 premium, and it dropped to 93 cents in value, that means we can buy it back today for $93. And since we collected $100 originally, we've got our $7 of profit, or 7 cents of decay.
So that's really good. If this guy over here is the seller and this guy over here is the buyer, and this guy sells him this option right here, right? And so this guy pays him the cash this way, right? And this guy gets the option. That's the trade. Well, when he sold it, that means this guy collected $100 right here. If the next day they want to trade it back, it's only worth 93. So if he wants to buy it back, he would sell it for 93, or buy it back for 93. So he brought in 100 when he sold it. I changed my mind. He has to buy it back for 93. He gets $7. So the seller's really happy when we have time decay, and the buyer's not. You'll notice that time component down here, that negative time component that we talked about. That's why the graph looks this way. But this could be complex. So last time we isolated and looked just at what? Delta. That's what we did last time. In this class, we're going to isolate just this one and look at just theta on the option chain with the Greeks. Okay. So here's a stock, ABC, and it's trading at $98.97. And it has 19 days to expiration. So this is really nice. It's on our less than 6 week period, right? It's got about 3 weeks left. So this is less than 6 weeks if we're a seller. If we're a buyer, this might not be too good. But let's look at this. So it's trading at 98.97. So let's do this over here. 98.97. And if I buy a call, this is the stock price. If I buy a call and the option premium is $2.55, okay, this is today. Okay, what's it going to be tomorrow?
Yeah, so we're assuming no delta change. Just remember, stock stayed the same.
So the stock
all we're concerned with,
stays at 98.97 this time. Stock stays there. What's going to be the price of this tomorrow?
And of course, it's $2.55 when we bought it. Now it lost 8 cents of theta, so it's going to be worth $2.47, right?
So now the option premium, if the stock stays the same, is going to be, what did you say again?
$2.47.
$2.47. So that's my race against time. You see that? I paid this time value for this option, okay? It's barely in the money by $2 and whatever cents. It's barely in the money on the call side. And so that's my race against time. This stock has to go up fast, because I'm losing 8 cents on that first day. Okay. Now let's do it like we did last time, and we'll just say this is the right or the choice to buy ABC stock at $100.
Yeah, 100.
Right
Yep.
there. And what we'll do is we'll take a picture of that like we did before. And we'll see that for an at the money option, that's where it's going to be. Now, let's take a look at a different strike. Let's say this time we want the right. I do this backwards. Man, I'm terrible. I have the right to buy ABC stock at what this time, Corey?
95.
95. So now that's an in the money option, because if I can buy it at 95 and sell it at 98, I can brag about it. I'm in the money. It's an in the money option. And so I come over here and the stock price is still the same. The stock price is at 98,
97.
97. But the option price, put it in green, I think. The option premium, the option price is at $5.45. Why is it more expensive? Because it's in the money slightly, right? Okay,
Yep.
Well, that's what it is today. But tomorrow, the stock, let's say the stock stays the same. The stock price is at 98, 97. But the option price, option premium,
Would be worth $5.38.
$5.38. Now, how did Corey come up with that? He subtracted 7 cents from $5.45. Okay, so let's take a picture of that one. Okay, and it's only going to be a penny difference. Okay. Oh, I think I just lost the one I just did. That's what you get when you do it with me. Okay, so let's just do that quick. Okay, let's just do that quick. Let me bring this one in and a picture. Okay, and let's just do that first one again. It doesn't hurt to review. It really doesn't. We'll do it fast though. Doesn't hurt us. So here we wanted the right to buy ABC stock at $100.
100.
Right? And we had a stock price. And we have stock price is at 98, 97. And we also have an option premium. And for the $100 strike, we played $2.55. That's today. But what about tomorrow? What about tomorrow, Corey? Well, stock price
stayed the same at
is still
98,
at
97.
97. Okay. And so an option trader says, well, I'm not going to lose any money. My stock stayed the same. I'm not going to lose any money. My stock stayed the same. But my option premium,
There's some decay. Yep.
is now down. You got to subtract 8 cents from that. So that's going to be what? $2 and
47 cents.
47 cents. Let's take a picture of that. So here we go. Okay, take a picture of that. Now I got that one. I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. Make sure I have my picture of that. And that one. Okay, so now we have this one. Now, so we see some trends here, and we see that the further out of the money, the further in the money, the less these decay. So we see a trend that's very much the same as delta, in that we're going to have less time decay problems the further into money we go, and we're going to have less risk because we're getting more intrinsic value the further in money we go. Right? This helps really understand why that delta was good that way too. Okay. Now, what's interesting is if you go out of the money, your theta is less. But remember the delta, that the chances of it working out, were really, 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 really low with low deltas. And so that's important to know.
You can kind of think of it in terms of the theta number's really low for the out of the money option, but that's in large part because the option premium is so low, and the option just, when you have a 20-cent option, it can't have theta of 20 cents a day because that's all it has left. So
that's
if it's 10 days left and it only has a 20-cent option, you're going to be in the 2 or 3 cents, but that's a big percentage of the option's value. That's losing 10% or 15% of its value per day.
That's a good comment.
In terms of theta.
Yeah. Here, I'm only paying 25 cents for it, but I'm losing 3 cents a day. Well, losing 3 cents a day at 25 is a lot bigger deal than losing 8 cents on 255, is what you're saying, right?
Yep. Exactly right.
This is actually a faster time decay than this one. Why? Because by percentage, 3% out of 25 cents is going to be a lot more devastating probably than 8 cents out of 255. Well, definitely.
Yeah, that's 12%. 3 cents decay of 25 cents is 12% decay.
12%
whereas
decay.
8 cents of decay on a 255 is 3% decay.
And on a 920, 3 cents is not even. I mean, now we're at 917. That's
it's
almost negligible.
Less than 1%. 0.3 of 1%.
So again, we see this. So when we look at the out of the money option, we go from 255 to 247. Okay, on the in the money option, or at the money option, or excuse me, the in the money option, we go from 545 to 538. So this helps us a little bit, I think, to help understand a little bit about delta. And the neat thing is the puts, it's the same. It's negative on both sides, because whether you buy a call or whether you buy a put, you're still you're buying the same thing. You're buying time, whether you buy a put or a call. And so whether it comes to the stock, it really doesn't matter. Hey, it's the same amount of time. Maybe this right here represents like a 19-day option. Okay, well, whether you buy a put that expires in 19 days or whether you buy a call that expires in 19 days, either way, you're paying for 19 days. And this shows the rate of decay. So looks like the puts are decaying a little faster than the calls are, right? That's huge. So
you can think of it. You can think of that example. That's a great point you made there. It doesn't matter whether it's a call or a put. Now, remember, one is the right to buy and one is the right to sell. But think of it as an insurance contract. Let's imagine you had insurance. You could get an insurance policy on the value of something going down or on the value of something going up, right? You could insure against it. And the insurance company doesn't care. You're going to have to pay them a premium either way. And so you're the one that has time decay because you have an expiration date. So in that example, the insurance company is collecting the premium. They're the ones profiting from time decay, because if this insurance contract goes to expiration and it doesn't happen, it doesn't need to be fulfilled, they collected the premium, that contract goes away, and they made their money, that decay every day.
If you really step back at this and look at this in different contexts, you'll find the same lesson, even in a different context. And it was Bucky Fuller that said, a principle is something that's true in all cases. So if we're really learning a wealth building principle here, okay, Mr. Miyagi, Mr. Yoda wisdom here, right? We're really not learning about options trading as much as we're learning about a wealth principle, okay? So right here, you have a contract between two guys, two people here, and one says, look, this is rent, and you have a tenant who is the buyer, right? and you have a landlord, tenant, and you have a landlord who is a seller, right? Who is a seller. And so I made this backwards. So the money is going to go to the seller. Okay? The money is going to go to the seller. So this is called rent. And money is going to flow this way. So here you have an asset called a house, and that asset creates rent or cash called rent. And it's based on what? Per month. And this is really theta. How much money per month? Well, how much money does he make? And how much money does he spend? So from an investing standpoint of view, the buyer is very, very sad that he's spending the money. But the landlord is very, very happy that he's making the money because he collects the rent. And the theta is how much money per unit of time you're making. That's all theta is. And theta, in our case, we're doing it per day. So this is per month. So 500 per month would be $16 a day would be the theta, right? Theta is simply a measure of how much money you're bringing in per unit of time. We measure theta in days instead of months. So if you're bringing in $500 in cash flow, right, this guy makes a profit of $500, that would be a theta of $16. And what'd you say?
1667, we'll call it.
1667 a day would be the theta. That's all we're talking about. And so the guy paying that $16 a day that sucks. The guy making that is loving it. He's really, really happy. Okay.
You know, this is a great wealth building exercise right here because I remember back in college, and I always hated February because February I had to pay my bills that much quicker, right? And so I was always kind of like, oh, I hate the month of February.
Yeah, you're kind of getting screwed in February, aren't you?
Yeah, right. You know, you're only in that property for 28 days or whatever, and you have to pay the same amount of rent. Now you can see how you're getting that extra profit in February. So as you start to get money working in your favor, February becomes your favorite month.
I love February as a landlord because that's less wear and tear on my house in that month than it is in January. And if you don't think that's a big deal, talk to Kenny McRoy, who owns 10,000 properties. Well, that's 10,000 times the 2 to 3 days.
Extra 2 or 3 days.
That's 20,000 days less of wear and tear. Well, what does your house look like after 20,000 days? You know, it's interesting to think about it that way. Here they have cash. And basically what they've done here is this is called a customer, and this is called Geico. And Geico is a lizard, but it's really not a lizard. It's who's in really, the lizard costume?
Warren Buffett, yeah.
Yeah, if you go to Geico and you see the little guy in the lizard, it's Warren inside of it, right? And so he says, look, pay me insurance premium. Well, the person that pays the insurance, very sad. The person that collects, very happy. So he has cash, and because he has
turn that customer's mouth upside down, would you?
Turn this smile upside down and make the frown go away.
There you go.
Now he looks like a mustache.
Now he's got the Fu Manchu. There you go.
Yeah. Now let's just make him angry and sad at the same time. Okay. This guy's just really happy, and so right here, this guy is generating a premium. And that's just another name for what we call the cash. Look, when you collect rent, you're really collecting cash. When you collect premium, you're really collecting cash. So let's say the premium is $500. Well, Warren's very happy that he's making this $500. It goes in his pocket, right? This guy loses it. So he's making $16.67 a day per se. On average, and this guy's losing 16, day for getting the promise. This guy makes a promise, right? And this guy gets a choice. He can he can either make the claim or not. If he gets in a car, he can either make the claim or he not. Some days he might say, it's not that bad, I'm not even going to make the claim. Warren doesn't care. He doesn't care. So that's important. Now, in options, okay, we have the same thing. This guy is the buyer right here, and this guy is the what? Seller. Geico sells the insurance, the customer buys the insurance, right? Okay, we have the same thing here. We have a buyer of the option, and we have the seller of the option. We have the same thing. This is a principle. So maybe the seller, maybe it's a call option, the seller owns some stock. Okay, he owns some stock. He says, I'll give you the right to maybe buy that stock from me. I'll make you a promise that you can buy my stock, and I'll sell it to you. And this guy can either do it or not. That's why it's called an option contract. He has a choice here. And this guy makes a promise. This guy has a choice. So he's going to pay this guy some money, called, again, a premium. So this stock generates a premium this time. Okay, with the put, you could generate with cash. But in this case, it's still just money. And so, maybe we collect $500, and, this is going to be a linear time decay, and this is going to be a linear time decay. Well, the only difference here is this time decay is going to look like this. So over average, it'll be an average over a day. And we say, look, we're getting a theta of, of whatever it is. Maybe it starts off, and we're only getting, $2 a day at the beginning, but at the end, we're getting, 20 or whatever the math would work out to be. But basically, because it is parabolic here, and it decays faster at the end than the beginning, this is pretty easy to figure out on average. This is a little tough to figure out, which is why we have what? Theta. So we know how much of this $500 we're getting at the beginning, how much it decays at the beginning and how much it decays again. We get the $500 up front, but to get out of the contract, if we wanted to get out of the contract, we want to know, well, how much could we sell it back for? So it's pretty cool that all it really boils down to is this is the principle down here, is that this guy is, it's his enemy, and this guy, it's his friend. And this is probably why, Corey, that most people graduate over time into being the seller of things, maybe rather than being the buyer of things, because the only component of this that is guaranteed and predictable is what?
That time decay. Yep.
The time decay.
Yep. There are definitely some advantages to being that option seller. Really great analogy. It's a wealth principle that whether you're dealing with real estate, insurance, or stock options, being the option seller, you get that passage of time decay working in your favor. It's a no-brainer, really.
Let me ask you a question. Corey and I will pose this question to you. Are these things you should learn before you start messing with puts and calls, or things you should learn after messing with puts and calls? Do you see this? I'm gonna share this information with you from the standpoint of how I wish it would have been taught to me. Because to tell you the truth, Corey, my first lesson on options was, okay, this is a call, and this is how you buy a call, and this is how you sell it, and this is how you make money. And I was not taught Greeks on my first day of options class. Were you?
I wasn't. No. It would have been nice, but no.
So my thinking is, this is the logic of how backward, option, financial education is for options and stuff. I'm just going to ask again, based on what you've learned about delta now, and based on what you've learned about theta now, if you cared about someone, would you want them trading options without knowing these principles first? Yeah, of course not. It would not be the way to do it. So, again, I get concerned about this because I know people, and they want to make the money tomorrow. They want to make it. Listen, you've waited how long before you've learned this? How long? How many years have you gone without knowing this? Look, you can have a few weeks to let this digest. Okay, have a few weeks. It's like a person that's been starving, wants to have a smorgasbord. Hey, I can feed you faster than you can digest. I guarantee you that. And so when you look at making things simple for people and having people understand complex things, that's been the study of my life. And I find the first thing is you got to have a good teacher that can use good analogies, good metaphors, teach something in one context first so they get it, like rent, and then bring it into another so they get the concept. But the second thing is how fast you feed people. Because if I give a speech and I try to cover too much in one speech, people check out. It's just too much. So this is why we go slow, and people get impatient, and that's the problem with Danielson and Mr. Miyagi, is Daniel got impatient. That's not Mr. Miyagi's issue. So I'm always going to remind you guys to digest. So here's your homework. Last week you did some paper trading with options. You should not be in this course if you haven't paper traded yet. This is an intermediate course. You should know this. If you don't know how to do order entry, we have videos and tools. If you don't know how to keep a trading journal, we have videos and tools for you to go back and do that. But now it's time to really learn this stuff. And so it's just integral in you. It's just part of you. Anything you want to say on that, Corey?
Yeah, I mean, risk management obviously is my background. And just to reiterate what you were saying, there are more elements to trading than just knowing that time decay works in your favor as an option seller. It would kind of be like I go and try and start Geico, and I don't know the inner workings of the insurance space, but I'm going to go try to compete with Warren Buffett. Well, I could go sell some insurance, but that doesn't mean I'm going to make any money, because how do I manage my risks when there are other elements in play? And so there's more to trading. That's why paper trading is so critical. You've got to learn, what do you do when the trade goes against you? There are some techniques, some risk management principles that you need to know before you go live in trading, for sure.
As you set your education goals, another reason why we require this is, someone like Corey or someone on Corey's team, good mentors, they already know how to trade stock. And so they, to invest time teaching and mentoring, it's expensive. Well, look, it is expensive. So why would you get into, I can understand investing in a coaching program to get you started. That would make sense, right? How do I start? How do I get going? Kind of initial thing. So there's that type of coaching, getting started coaching. But polishing, a guy shouldn't sit down with an advanced mentor to learn Theta. You should learn that here with us. And we should be practicing. It doesn't make sense. I'm going to go and I'm going to get some coaching from Mike Krzyzewski because I care about it. Let me tell you something. It ain't cheap. It's, it ain't cheap. Okay. It's 5 figures to go to this thing to get with Coach Krzyzewski. Well, you know what? If he's just going to, I'm not going to have conversation with him about, dribbling a basketball and what traveling is and what double dribble is. We probably won't even talk about what, a rebound is. I'm going to talk to him about extremely advanced coaching concepts because I've coached for 8 years myself as a volunteer. I've done it, and now he and I can use that investment I've made in him at an extremely high level. Wouldn't make me sense. I don't need Mike Krzyzewski to show me what traveling is. I can go to a YBA coach to learn that. So before a person is qualified to sit down with an advanced coach, this stuff should be flat out known. You should flat out have experience in it. You should have paper traded a bunch and flat out know it before you get to that point. Nothing's more frustrating when someone invests a lot of money for a coach and they're, on training wheels still. It's better to polish rather than to do the rough cutting in advanced coaching. That's just my opinion. It's better bang for your investment or your education dollar. ABC stocks trading at 98.97. This one has 98 days to expiration. So the stock price is $98.97. Okay. If I get a strike price, let's say we have a strike price of, let's say, where's my strike? Of
100. Okay.
Okay. that means that the option price is going to be $255. And this is today. Tomorrow, okay, let's say the stock price stays at 98.97. It stays. It doesn't change, okay? But the premium will go from $2.55 down to $2.47. So I'm going to lose 3 cents with 19
8 cents.
Or excuse me, 8 cents with 19 days to expiration. Okay. Now, this one out here, we're going to have the same strike of 100. Okay. And the stock price is still.
Now,
go ahead.
98.97. I was just going to say, this is the same stock. Remember,
Same stock.
This is ABC Corporation. It's trading at 98.97, but you as the trader get to decide which option you want to buy and how much you're willing to pay for it and what type of theta number you're willing to have working against you as the option buyer in this this hypothetical example.
So if you have an orange tree as the underlying, the orange tree, the underlining, you could have one with pulp and one with no pulp and have the same underlying. Two different orange juices, or you could have that orange from the same orange picked the same day, but you might have squozen one orange juice on Monday and squozen another one 10 minutes ago, which one you want to buy. Does that make sense? Which one's more delicious? So it changes. The derivative is entirely different, but the underlying is the same. This one has 19 days to expiration. This has 173, but it's the same underlying stock. So if this is a call, this gives you the right to buy ABC at, let's say, 100 anytime between now and 19 days. This one gives you the right to buy, right, ABC, let's say at 100, okay, anytime between now and 130 or 173 days from now. So both of them give you the right to buy the same stock. It's just this one doesn't give you very many days. This gives you 19 days, and this one's giving you 173 days. So you have the right to buy the same stock. It's just this one gives you more time. So the option is going to be more expensive here. The option is going to be much more expensive in that you're going to be paying $11.70 to buy this option. That's today. But tomorrow, I don't even know how to spell tomorrow. So tomorrow, the stock's still, let's say, at 98.97. Let's say it doesn't even move. Let's say it just doesn't move. Okay, but the price you're going to pay for the option premium now, if we come over here, we see the theta here is 4 cents. Okay, it's not nearly as much. And so that's going to be $11.66 for a loss of 4 cents. So this one is double the loss in a day because it had less time. Remember the shape of that graph looks like this, right? It's linear. This one you lose twice as much money. So even though it's much, much less in price, okay, the amount you're paying, but remember, just because you buy some doesn't mean you're losing the money. You really don't lose that money until this isn't like buying. You got to have a mindset of investor. This ain't buying a freaking set of blue jeans here. Okay, this ain't buying a dinner. Okay, look, when you go out to Ruth Chris and you buy dinner, it's not worth anything when you walk out the restaurant. You understand? It's in your belly. It's consumed. There's no time value left in it. It's done. Okay, you spend $100 for a steak at Ruth Chris, you walk out, it's over. So people think, okay, if I go to Ruth Chris and spend $100 for a steak, or if I go to Denny's and spend, I don't even know what they cost at Denny's, $7, I don't know what they cost. You're like, well, I'm gonna be better off with Denny's. Look, you're not spending money, you're investing money. You're not spending money, you're investing money. In other words, that 255, it's a balance sheet, right? It's just changed from money to an option. It's still an asset in your balance sheet. You didn't lose it. It's still in there. The question is, how much value did it gain or lose? Well, if you go to Ruth Chris and your cash turns into a steak that goes in your belly, so the asset's gone. But when you spend money on an option, the cash just turns into an option. You still have that value in the asset column. It just changed form. It's like saying if I spend money on gold, I spend, let's say I buy an ounce of gold. Oh, I just lost money. No, I still have gold. There's still value there. So thinking like a consumer is different than thinking like an investor. You can always sell stuff. So you got to figure, look at this, 4 cents as opposed to 8 cents. You're losing money twice as fast here as you are here. This is 100% different, literally a 100% different. What's the difference between buying 19 days and 173? It's 100% different, literally 100% different, not figuratively.
Yeah. And
literally
and you
100% different.
Yeah, you could even take it one step further. So not only are you experiencing more decay in that short-term option, which we know that's what happens, think about the percentages, because if we bring it back to percentages, you're losing $8 or 8 cents per $255. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So if we have 8 cents of decay on a $2.55 option, that's 3%, 3.1% of its value is how much it decayed in just one day of owning it. And that's because when you only have 19 days, it's just, it's severe. It doesn't have much life left. So every day is so important. Whereas when you have an option that has 173 days and it experiences its 4 cents of decay, but it's an $11.70 option, well, guess what? 4 cents of an 11.70 option
that's going to be like
is 0.3%. Yeah, I mean, it's not even 1%. It's 0.003.
Yeah, it's going to be with percent, it's going to be 0.3, like that.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of 3.1, you're 0.3 in terms of the amount of your capital that you lost in that day of time. That's why we like to, if we're going to be a buyer, we like this one. Okay, because our time isn't, it's not killing us. We're only, but if we're a seller, we want to make this money. This is going into our pocket. As a buyer, this is going out of our pocket. As a seller, this is going into our pocket. So we like to sell these probably and be more apt to buy these, if that makes sense. So, this is complex stuff. Okay, and hopefully you're coming along. I'm so paranoid, and you just have to live with it because I'm your coach and because I care about you. I care about my students. I hope that comes through. If I didn't care, I just say sign up for my class. I give it to you and go, I care. I care that you get this. Okay, so if you're not getting it, that's my biggest concern. It's probably because you have not waxed on and waxed off. You've gone too fast, or you tried to skip steps and shortcut it. Oh, I don't need to review my 4 pillars. I don't need to do the option review. I can just click over and get right in the meat of this stuff. Well, if you're in the meat of it and you're understanding it, good on you. If you're in the meat and you're not getting it, go back, okay, and don't try to go faster than you can digest. Don't be a pig eater. A pig eater goes in and they just stuff their face so freaking fast, then they get a bellyache. And it's like going to Chuckarama. Well, hopefully you're not going to Chuckarama. That's like going to Ruth Chris, ordering everything on the menu right away, trying to eat in one sitting, and say, well, I got a stomach ache. Well, Ruth Chris is going to say, hey, well, don't eat so freaking fast. Okay? Tree rings come once a year. It's great for raising children, understanding that. As much as you teach them, as much as you exhort them, as much as you plead with them to grow up and act their age, which they usually are anyway, tree ring comes once a year. Okay? I have kids older than Corey, so I can give him advice on stuff like that. So the theta increases. This is maybe a little bit wonky, but the theta increases the amount of money. If I'm a seller, I'm making 8 cents a day here, but by the time it expires, I'm making 27 cents a day here if I'm a seller of this option. So the time decays, and as the time decays, the theta increases. So all this is showing is the opposite. We saw that's a better graph of it. Is, we saw this part of the graph that, really loses a lot of money here, right? Well, this is just showing the rate at which that's changing. That's it. This is how fast the rate of change, how fast. This would almost be like if I looked at this slope, this is almost like gamma for theta. I mean, it's like this is the rate of change. This shows me the rate of change of theta.
Rate of change of the theta.
If there was a gamma for theta, this would be it, but gamma's for delta. How about that to confuse everybody?
Yeah, and that makes sense in terms of, if you think about the math behind this, the mark price is $255, so that's what the option's worth. It has 20 days to expiration. So if we just averaged it, we'd say $255 divided by 20. Well, it's going to average 12 cents of decay per day. That's the average.
Yep.
Well, it's going to start with 8 cents of decay, gradually move to 10 cents of decay per day, then to 12 cents, then to 14. But it falls off a cliff at the end, right?
Yeah.
So it's like for the first 10 of the 20 days, it's 8 to 10 cents of decay.
Yep.
For the last 10, it's 20 cents, 25 cents. And yeah,
so
exactly.
So all this shows is 8 is a small number, right, down here. 27 is a big number up here, right? And that just shows that, okay? A math guy would say, well, then you should make this look like that. And, just leave me alone, math people. Okay? I'm not a math guy. I'm a picture guy. And all this says is, look, I'm going to make less money as a seller right here at the beginning, but I make a ton of money right before expiration, which means, gee, where would I like to be the seller? The closer to expiration, the more money you make per day. The higher the theta will be as you get closer to expiration. Theta will change. So as theta rises, time value of the option drops. Okay, same chart, different stuff. Okay, now watch. This is the good analogy right here. So check this out. When you go buy milk, I know you reach back and you're trying to find this one. So this is the milk that's in the front, and this is the milk that's in the back. And I get a better deal on milk than Corey does because my arm is longer than his is. Corey might get back, 2 or 3, maybe might find another day or 2 of expiration. Me, I reach back there so far I can grab the cow by the udder and milk my stuff fresh. That's how far I can reach back there. Okay, I can really milk that stuff, buddy. And so if you were a seller, let's say you're the store owner, which one of these would you want to sell first?
They're highly motivated to sell their May 1st expiring milk.
Because this is losing value faster than this one is. I mean, this one's losing value really fast.